The one with all the women. I'm going to talk about the women that witnessed the resurrection of Jesus Christ. All four Gospels talk about this. The last chapter of each Gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But John, it's the second to the last chapter. And that's what we're going to read is John chapter 20. We're going to talk about the women that witnessed the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So we're going to start in John chapter 20, verse 1. Just before we do, I want to make sure we understand that there was 12 disciples, but one took his own life. That was Judas, because he had betrayed Christ. And at this time, as we're about to read, Jesus had been crucified, he had died, and he had been in a tomb with a large stone over 5 foot tall rolled over his tomb. Okay? Now there's more details than that, but we're going to cover the specifics about the women. Okay? So John chapter 20 verse 1. Now the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb early while it was still dark and saw that the stone had been rolled away from the tomb. Then she ran and came to Simon Peter and the other disciple whom Jesus loved, that's John, and said to them, "They have taken away the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they've laid him." So we're going to stop there for a minute and on verse 2, and we got a couple of questions already. It's Sunday, the sun is up, not even up yet, and it seems though Mary's alone, right? Who is they? She said they took his body. Who is they? Well, the truth is she didn't know. And who are we? Because she said we don't know what they've done with his body. Who is we? That implies that she probably was not alone. Why was just Mary Magdalene mentioned in the book of John? But also, who wrote the book of John? That was John himself. And who came to his door? It seems as though Mary Magdalene came to his door. So that seems to answer some questions for now. So was she alone? She doesn't imply that she was alone. She said we, as in plural. Now, when we look in another account, just real quick, Luke chapter 24:10, this describes who this we may have been. Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary mother of James, and the other women with them who told these things to the apostles. So this was 5 or more women. Now, were they there at this time or not? We're not sure. But we're going to read on, and some things are going to be filled in. It's really cool. I love reading this. Verse 3, Peter therefore went out, and the other disciple, and they were going to the tomb, so they both ran together, and the other disciple outran Peter and came to the tomb first. I love this because John is like, I'm faster than Peter. I ran faster than Peter. So that's a little humor in there. Verse 5, and he stooping down, this is John, he looked in and he saw the cloths lying there, and he did not go in. He waited for Peter. Then Peter came and he followed him. He went into the tomb and saw the linen cloths lying there and the handkerchief folded up nice and neat, which would have been around where his head was. And it was folded nice and neat, like I just said. And then verse 8, then the other disciple who came to the tomb first also went in, and he saw and he believed, whereas they did not yet know and understand the scripture that he must rise again from the dead. Then the disciples went away again to their own homes. So we get some more pieces of information that is so fascinating. First, the disciples ran, John believed, and it says that they didn't understand. What is this talking about? It's one of two things. I think that this is talking about Mary and Peter didn't understand, they didn't believe. We're going to understand that Mary doesn't here in just a minute. The other piece of information we get here is they went to their own homes. John and Peter went to their own homes. So here you have Mary running to 2 different homes after visiting the tomb. And it seems as though she was by herself when she went to their 2 homes. But when she was at the tombs, it seems as though she wasn't alone. So there may have been a group of women that went to the tomb, saw that the stone was rolled away, and ran. So we read on. Verse 11, but Mary stood outside the tomb weeping. As she wept, she stooped down and looked in the tomb. So we're going to stop at verse 11 real quick. This implies that Mary returned to the tomb either with John and Peter or right behind them. So she went to the tomb 2 times. And she saw the 2 angels in white sitting, one at the head and the other at the feet of where Jesus would have been. Then they said to the woman, why are you weeping? And she said, because they have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they've laid him. Now when she had said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she didn't know it was Jesus. And Jesus said to her, woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking? She supposed him to be the gardener. So there, she didn't know who took Jesus. She thought somebody did, and she's thinking Jesus is the gardener and is the one who took him away. So Mary continues. She says, sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you've laid him, and I will come and take him away. I'll come and get him. And Jesus said to her, Mary. He speaks loudly. He says her name the way he says her name. She turned and said to him, Rabboni, which is to say, teacher. And Jesus said to her, do not cling to me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brethren and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God. Mary Magdalene came and told the disciples that she had seen the Lord and that he had spoken these things to her. So she had gone to the tomb once, went and told them the stone was rolled away. They ran together there. They left. She was there a second time, and she went to tell them again. But this time, not that the stone rolled away, they know that, but that she spoke to Jesus and saw 2 angels. So this tells us that the women went to the tomb more than once, at least 2 times. And they had a different report. The first one was that the stone was rolled away. The second one was that they had seen Jesus and that they had seen angels. So the disciples, the 11 disciples, more than likely had at least 2 knocks at their door, if not 3. Because if the women split up leaving the tomb, they may have overlapped and knocked on a door an extra time or 2. So from the disciples' perspective, they were getting knocks at the door. They probably thought they were crazy. And John and Peter were the only ones that ran to the tomb. John was the only one that believed. Now, a question arises. It's such an amazing story and accounts of what happened. Why? Why was the stone rolled away? And why did Jesus and the angels show up on that second trip? And the answer is, Jesus didn't need the stone rolled away. He could have just went right through the stones, passed right through them, no problem in a second, and he probably did. But the angel rolled the stone away so that they could see. He rolled the stone away for them and for us. They were eyewitnesses that the tomb was empty. So it was for them and it was for us. And why did the angels and Jesus show up to the women at least by the second time? Because if he didn't, they would have kept coming back to the tomb. And he needed them to get away from there and tell everybody he's alive. What an amazing story. And God bless women.